I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Ladles and jelly spoons. And I put my teeth back in. I want to welcome back to the show Aaron O'Sullivan from Systems Culture Impact. And they basically help Amazon sellers get stuff off their plates and outsource, which is music to my ears. It's something I really need to actually do. So Aaron, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Michael, thanks so much for allowing me to come back on and share some insights with your audience. Really excited about being here.
Excellent. Yeah, great to have you back. I think outsourcing is one of those things that sounds kind of sexy and people don't do. And at the beginning, it sounds irrelevant. And I think those are both kind of traps for the unwary. But it's very good to have you back on. Now, I know that you've recently done a presentation. So what I'm going to do is butt out and let you, in this first part of our interview, basically do your presentation, which is about how to offload tasks and onboard VAs. So, Aaron, I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it. So just as an overview, I want to make it really clear on what we're about. It's really offloading, a lot of the inventory management, customer service, bookkeeping, all this stuff off people's plates so they can work on the things that really matter. And in today's presentation, we're going to cover, some of them things today. So I'm going to switch over in a second, and you should be able to see my slides. If you are obviously watching this on video, then great. Or if you're listening, then it's still going to be applicable. The audio will be just fine. Guys, really excited about today's session, and thanks, Michael, for the intro. Today's all about how to offload tasks and onboard VAs so you can have more freedom, income, and fulfillment in your world. So before we kind of begin, if you're sat down at a desk and you've got a pen and paper to hand, I want you to just write down, systems will set you free. If you've got a phone open, just write it down. Systems will set you free. Obviously, if you're driving, don't try and do this. All right, guys, really appreciate that. So again, my name's Aaron O'Sullivan from a company called systemscultureimpact.com. And I mentioned before, we basically come into people's businesses and take off the operations off people's plates, customer service, inventory management, and so forth. And since 2013, I've been lucky enough to sell many millions of dollars worth of product across the Amazon marketplaces, and I've been involved in building some fairly large teams over in the Philippines to run hundreds and hundreds of private label products across many different brands. And it was kind of my role to figure out all the systems and processes within this team of 45 and to make sure that they could basically run. So in that process of really trial and error and failure and really learning what worked and kind of what didn't work, I've been able to kind of learn quite a few things along the way. And today I'm here to share some of what I've learned on my journey so far. So one of the biggest problems that you're likely going to face at some point is reaching your capacity. It's where the business growth slows or declines because the business owner is ultimately fighting fires all day and kind of being the bottleneck. Working around the clock on low value tasks, things like customer service, inventory management, bookkeeping, daily admin, daily firefighting. And I've seen businesses fail because of this, because the leader was the bottleneck. Ultimately, if you can see this presentation, then there's a picture of a big anchor and an air balloon tied to it. And ultimately what happens is, the anchor represents all the low value firefighting tasks that people do. And today, we're all about how to basically be released from the anchor so your balloon can take off. And that balloon is your business. So today I'm going to show you that offloading tasks and creating systems can be quick and painless. So you can focus on growing your business and really creating something that you're really proud of, and obviously making more money in the process. It hasn't always been kind of systems and processes and team for me. Had you met me in 2013, things were very different. I was working in the far northwest of Australia as a plasterer and a general kind of construction role. To get my Australian visa, it was always just a means to an end. But I was doing like 14-hour days outside in the heat, and it totally wasn't fun. And then stumbled across Amazon. I was learning, affiliate marketing and stuff like that. And then I found out about Amazon and went all in, and quit my job after 5 months. I was it started to go really, really well. I was launching new products, new brands, opening up new marketplaces. I was like a kid in a candy shop, to be honest. And in 2014, things started to take a bit of a turn. My business started to plateau, and some of the brands started to decline. I was at capacity. I was doing everything, and I had no leverage. I had no team, I had no systems or processes or anything, and I kind of freaked out. I didn't really know what to do. It took me a while to try and understand what was happening. But what really hurt me was that I kind of broke a promise to my daughter, and I promised her I'd show up a few times, and I had to cancel because a fire had started in my business that I could have prevented. And something I'm really not proud of, but kind of broke my heart. And she lost trust in me around this time, and it took me kind of a while to join the dots. But you need systems and processes and team in place so you can grow your business and actually enjoy life at the same time. After fixing these problems, now I kind of have the privilege of helping others to get all this stuff off their plate so they can focus on growing their businesses. But what I'm most proud of is that I've not broken a promise to my daughter since. I want to kind of talk a little bit about expectations today. It's going to be as interactive as possible. I know this is a lot of you guys are going to be listening to this in the car or on the treadmill, but it's so you can get the most of today's session, really. So you can take away the most juice from the session and actually implement the actions and get some results. There's going to be some ums and ahs thrown in because I'm not a professional speaker by any means, but I know this is aimed at the British Amazon selling community in general. So I'll be speaking, if you're outside of the UK, I'm going to be speaking in this accent for the entire presentation. So you might have to listen a bit carefully. What I'm going to do though, guys, is I'm committed to really giving you everything I can in the time that we have. And at the end, I'm going to show you a place you can get some extra help around this stuff if you'd like it. We're going to be moving really, really fast in the next 20 minutes or so. So if you have a pen and paper ready, great. Make some great notes because I want to smash this together. What we're going to cover, guys, Michael already mentioned it, and so did I. It's how to offload tasks, how to get them off of your plate, and then how to onboard VAs to get them from novice, like brand new, up to ninja in 8 weeks' time. So how you can allow them to become an asset instead of a liability. Guys, if you get this wrong, then you end up being the bottleneck. You end up fighting fires. If you don't get stuff off your plate, then you end up reaching capacity, living in reaction and fighting fires. You become overworked, overwhelmed, and probably underpaid. And you end up missing the family dinners on some occasions and not spending the time you'd like with your loved ones. But when people do hire somebody, a lot of people bring them on and they end up spoon feeding the VAs, each day with new tasks, which gives the business owner, more things to do. Instead of them kind of relieving them from all this stuff on their plate, it's actually adding another thing onto their plate, and it's creating even more kind of stress. So if that happens, if you end up basically micromanaging these staff and they become an expense instead of an asset, another to-do on your to-do list. And the excitement between you and the new hire kind of fizzles out, and it leaves you both feeling a bit kind of disappointed. If you get all this kind of wrong and it doesn't work out, then it can burn cash, your time, and it can kill a business if these things are not taken care of. But if you do get this right, however, if you do get things off your plate, then you're no longer the bottleneck for growth. You're no longer living in reaction and fighting fires all day long. If you get this right, then you create systems that allow you to kind of work in your zone of genius. So, most, entrepreneurs I meet in this space are the creative people that want the strategy, they want to dial in, new marketing strategies on how they can grow revenues and profits. Or it could be selling on Facebook and Google to build a list of customers. And if you get the systems set up in the first place, then you can not have to kind of miss family or social occasions. So when you do hire somebody, if you get this right, then you ramp up responsibility over 8 weeks or so. So this builds trust, it builds autonomy, and it builds momentum. Ultimately, all this unlocks your freedom, your income, and your fulfillment if you get it right. So I want you to meet Alex. I've got a great client called Alex who he came to us and he's super, super busy, and he had, so much on his plate. And the reason I'm bringing this up because it's really, really important to understand the power of what can happen when you do remove all of the distractions, you remove all of the, the things which, are the trivial many, or, and not focus on the vital few. So we got Alex aligned with what was important. And one of them projects was to launch his products in the USA, and set up a system for that, which went on to generate 120K for him within less than a week of launching this brand. And I'm not telling you this to impress you. I'm telling you this to impress upon you the power of what can happen if you do dial in on the right areas of the business. If you could think about it, if you could focus more on the higher value activities in the business, what kind of impact would that have? If you've got a pen and paper right now, I'll give you 5-10 seconds, write the first word that comes to your mind. Or if you're on a treadmill, what kind of impact could it have on your business if you was working on the high value tasks most of the time? Please do that now. If you think about it, if you're working on for 10 hours a week, working on, like a $5 an hour task, then that's like 50 hours, $50 of value that you've brought to the business working on that stuff in the week. If you think about it, like how can you switch that from working on low value tasks to high value tasks? For instance, like launching and creating new products, learning new marketing strategies. That could be like a $1,000 per hour task. So going from working on a $5 to a $1,000 an hour task will, over time, add serious amounts of value to your business. And ultimately, most of the time, it's where people want to be working. It's the things that they enjoy anyway. Is working and learning new strategies to implement to grow their business. So, guys, I want to switch gears now. I want to talk to you about really how to start offloading these tasks quickly, so you can ultimately get stuff off your plate and really grow your business. So, one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that when people try to hire a VA, they do it without being prepared, or they don't have a load of tasks to give to the VA ahead of time, and they don't have a clear onboarding process. So right now, what I'm going to do is show you exactly and talk about exactly what you need to do before you start looking for a VA. So step one, before you start looking for a VA, you need to download, track, and rank all of your tasks. So what do I mean here? So in terms of downloading, it means you're going to take a look back over the past few weeks and month and just check your to-do list, see your project management software, however you manage your workflow, collect all the tasks that you do and add them to a Google sheet and just download everything. It's like a brain dump of all the things that you do. And that's going to really enlighten you on, okay, where am I literally spending my time based on the history? And the next thing, once you've done that, I would love, this next piece completely changed my life, and it does for everybody that I kind of work with and who actually does this, and it's to track your time. So I recommend 3 to 5 days. It's not sexy, I get it, but this completely changed my life. It completely kicked my backside the first time I'd done it, because I thought I was really productive. I looked at the data. Every time I changed tasks, I would make a note of, the time, that spent changing tasks. It could be making lunch. It could be, checking an email, answering a phone call. Every time you switch tasks, it's called context switching, and it takes sometimes like 15 minutes to get back into the flow. But the point is, every time you change that task, it could be small, it could be big, just make a note of it in a Google sheet and the time it takes. This takes 3 seconds every time you do it. It's nothing for just 3 days. So after 3 to 5 days, you're going to have all the data that you need to see to be able to, make a change. You can't change anything if you don't have the awareness. So really, really important to do that, and you'll be blown away. I guarantee you. I'd love to hear, the results from it. So download and then track. So now you should have a list of tasks you've downloaded and a list of tasks you've been tracking for 3 to 5 days. Now it's about compiling them together into one big long list, on that Google sheet. So once you've got that, we're now going to rank these tasks. At the top of the list, you're going to have the high frequent, low value things at the top, the things that happen often, the things that really are, you just want to get off of your plate, the things that are way below your pay grade, and ultimately are not really moving the business forward in terms of growth. So high frequency tasks with low value at the top, and you basically, you should have quite a substantial list there. So what I want you to do next is to draw a line underneath the top 10 to 15 tasks, and now that's your strike list to hand to somebody else and be prepared, so we can prepare them to give onto somebody else's plate. So now you've got a list of, in order of the high frequency, low value tasks. You've drawn a line and you're clear on what you want to get rid of. The next step, guys, is to start recording the videos. So there's a number of services out there which are great tools. There's one called useloom.com, and there's another service which is Snagit by TechSmith. So Michael, I'm sure he'll include these in the show notes, but useloom's free. It's an awesome tool, and take advantage of it because it'll help change your life. So once we have now this list of tasks, you're going to do the task anyway, so you might as well hit record and never have to do it again. In this example, I want to use the task, because it might be relevant to many people, checking and responding to Amazon customer service emails. So let's say that's the task that you're looking to offload to somebody else. So before you hit record, it's important just to map out the steps, the high-level steps of how to do the task, just so it helps you on the video. After a while, you probably won't need to do that, but if it's the first few times you've created videos, then it can be helpful to get you rolling. After a while, you'll be a pro, and you won't even probably need to do it. So once you've kind of mapped out the steps to that specific task, and the example we were using was checking and responding to Amazon customer service emails, you're going to hit, next time you go and do the task, just hit record. And at the start of the videos, you give the context. Always give the context at, the very start of each video. So you say, this is the outcome, this is the purpose, this is the when it happens, and this is the success criteria. So 4 things: the outcome, the purpose, when it happens, and also the, what does success look like? What does an amazing standard look like? So the first time somebody opens that video and hits play, they can immediately understand the outcome, the purpose, when it's supposed to happen, and what does success look like. Once you've given that kind of context on the video, you now show them how to do the task. And in this case, it was check and respond to Amazon customer service emails. And then, you're going to hit stop on the end of the video. So once you've showed them how to do the task, you hit stop, and now you've got a video you can point somebody to when you're ready to hire, or if you've got somebody already, then you can point them to that video. When they have been onboarded, when you have hired them, into your company, or you've shown your current VA the video, you're going to have them create the SOP the first time that they action that specific task. So that deepens their understanding. So I'll give you context. An SOP is a standard operating procedure, which is a step-by-step document on exactly how to do a specific task. And these are really helpful because if somebody else is sick, your team member's off sick, then you can point them to an SOP and they can pick up the task and still get the job done. Another, big benefit really is if you're looking to sell your business at any point in the future, if you've got kind of like a filing cabinet of all these SOPs, for all these tasks in your business, then it's going to make it much more valuable to a potential buyer because it's less risky and they can just pick up this filing cabinet and know exactly how to do all of these tasks without you being involved, and they can have more kind of security that they can grow the business and really get their return on their investment. I think the best thing though is you never have to write an SOP ever again as the business owner, because it's, from my point of view, not so fun to say the least. So your value probably is much more utilized in a different area like marketing or growing the business. So once you've basically approved that SOP, you're going to set it to repeat, as in the task to repeat in their calendar, whether you use a project management software like Asana, Trello or Airtable or whatever you use. Set it to repeat so you don't have to manage that every day and you're not spoon feeding them. Finally, you're going to store the standard operating procedure, and then you're going to celebrate them, the new team member, because that's what they deserve. And if they've taken it off your plate, great, they need to be recognized and appraised for that. And ultimately, it creates, it helps to create a culture inside your company, and it's positive conditioning too. So it's really just the right thing to do. You guys might be wondering now, okay, where can I hire a VA? There's a number of places depending on your need. So there's FreeUp, which is a great service. There's onlinejobs.ph, there's Upwork, there's Priority VA. We have Team Ninja, which is they're basically pre-screened, pre-coached on mindset, skill, and systems over in the Philippines. But ultimately, this is not open for the public yet, but it's just been for our internal clients. But what I'm more than happy to do, if you're stuck looking for a VA, I'm happy to point you in the right direction if you get stuck. So feel free to reach out to me, and I think Mike will include my contact details in the show notes for you. Guys, that's how you start to offload tasks in your business to get things off of your plate. We're going to kind of switch gears again and really talk about how to, once you've brought on and hired a VA, how to get them from novice, brand new, up to ninja in 8 weeks. So this is like how to get them, as an asset in your company, and how to provide them real value to take things off of your plate. So now you know how to quickly prepare that list of tasks. That's what we've just done. When you do hire a VA, it's important that you kind of ramp up responsibility over 8 weeks. And right now I'm going to cover the 8-week onboarding model, which is, if you think about a bar graph, which has eight bars across it from week 1 to week 8, and you have them, increasing each week. Now we're ramping up over time the responsibility. So basically, the aim of the game is to be able to hand over 2 tasks each week to your VA. So each week they're kind of lifting the load from your shoulders. And if you open the doors to your company and you say to your new VA, this is how we do things here. This is the framework we're following, and this is how, this is what's expected from you. It's going to really create clarity and confidence for them, and create clarity and confidence for you too. So people are secretly kind of dying to be led, right? If you think about, the world at large is kind of chaotic. There's so much going on in complexity. If they stepped into a new company and said, there's a framework and, clear instructions on how things are done, it's ultimately going to put them at ease, and they're going to be eager to jump in and start adding value to your business. All this really just frees your plate up, so you can work on really growing the business and working in your zone of genius, and having more time to do your things in your personal life too. So over the years, what we found is that people kind of really struggle with the onboarding, the onboarding process. So to get people productive. So basically, we created this onboard talent blueprint, for our clients, which is clear step-by-step framework to get their new VAs from brand new, up to, becoming an asset in their company. And, this is so they don't have to spoon feed tasks to them, which saves time, energy, and money. So right now I'm going to talk about the key ideas from this blueprint and the key themes taken. So from this kind of blueprint that we share with our clients. Over the 8 weeks, that you're going to onboard your new VA or your new team member over 8 weeks. So weeks 1 and 2 is all about connection and clarity. So these are the key themes. And remember, we're giving them 2 tasks per week over 8 weeks. So by the end of 8 weeks, they're going to have 16, give or take, could be more, could be less, tasks from your plate onto theirs. So connection really is all about week 1. This is where you're bringing them into your world, you're indoctrinating them into how you do things, and this is like building rapport, sharing the purpose, the values, the vision of the company, and you get them set up in week 1, of course, with all of their tools, all of the access they need to make their, to get the job done. And in week 1, you can point them to like your company university, and what I mean by this is, even if it's just you right now, then I would recommend to get, a list of training available to your new team member, so they can go through that training and upgrade their skills when they're not so busy at the start. And you can always point them, that should be part of their weekly development anyway, is learning and making notes and sharing these notes, inside of the company, in a place like a Google Doc, so you can be sure that they're growing in their role. So that's week 1. It's really about getting them on board and getting them clear on, what you're all about, meeting the team if you have a team. Week 2 is about clarity. So this is like setting them straight on what the company priorities are for the year, what's the priority for the quarter, and setting the clear expectations of exactly how, what's expected of them, and really, how things work. Getting clear on also the projects and systems that they're going to be part of. If you think about it, it's like looking and pointing to the top of the mountain and saying, this is where we're going, this is how we're going to get there, this is how you fit into the company to help us as a team achieve these priorities for the quarter. So that's week 1 and 2. Week 3 and 4 is all about routines and ramp up. So week 3 is routines, week 4 is ramp up. So this is all about getting them in sync with the business. So you're all pulling together. So if you can imagine, a rowing boat all pulling together in the same rhythm to ensure that you're moving as quickly up the river as possible. So week 3 really is about routine. So this is establishing, the meetings, the daily one-on-ones you might have with them, and getting them clear on, the rhythms of the business, how things work. Week 4 is really coming to the point now where you're going to decide, based on their performance, what kind of tasks you're going to, give them which have higher responsibility. So at the beginning, we talked about how to, we need to ramp up their responsibility over 8 weeks. Then this is about taking stock of where they currently are, understanding what they've, how far they've come, and what tasks they're going to be able to really handle. So to start with, if it's a first VA, then it's going to be stuff like customer service and things which are easy to offload. If you're ramping up the responsibility, it could be things like inventory management. It could be some PPC stuff. It could be some bookkeeping or admin. Depends on the person, depends on their progress, and it depends what you're comfortable with. But what I will say is it's supposed to feel a bit uncomfortable, because most entrepreneurs want to keep stuff on their plate, like inventory management. Ultimately, you can outsource 90% of that, but most people don't want to let go of it. And this is an example of one of the tasks you can start to prepare to hand over. And it's a conversation, and it's an assessment of them. But if you do this, then ultimately in week 5 and 6, it creates more leverage and lift off in your business, because now you're in week 5, you're preparing the training for, say, inventory management, or a portion of that whole area of the business. So it's gonna, if you're spending, say, 10 hours a week on that, and you can get 7 hours off onto their plate, then ultimately that's when your business can start to lift off, because you can focus now on revenue driving activities, which is what we are. The aim of the game is to get rid of 70+, 80+% of the operations. Week 5, so that's leverage, where you create the training for the higher responsibility tasks. Week 6 is where you really work with them closely to hand them off. So, business is kind of like a rocket ship. If you think about it, it needs all rocket engines firing in the right directions for it to kind of lift off. So focus on the high value areas of the business is kind of like pointing the rockets in the right direction. So let's say that you're working on a low value task. It's like, having one engine pointing off to the side, and, removing that and then focusing on growing the business in terms of, launching a new product, ranking the products to page 1. That's like pointing that engine for the rocket, in the right direction, so it can actually start to continue to take off. So week 7 and 8, guys, is all about recalibrate and review. So if you think about it, week 7, we're just checking in. We're just checking in with the VA to see the capacity of their working week. If you're employing them for 40 hours and they've only got 30, then you know that you've got an extra 10 hours to hand off to them. And even if you've got like an on-demand VA based on what you need, this is a good time to check in to see what you're doing again and seeing what else you can hand to them. So that's week 7, is to recalibrate with the VA and just take stock of the capacity of them. Week 8 is about review. So this is the review of the process, of onboarding. See, what could be improved, get their feedback and how they found it. It's review of the VA's progress. Again, checking in, seeing what they can handle, seeing how they're going with everything, and really, ultimately celebrating as well. Celebrating over the 8 weeks you just come through. And this is just having a clear framework, guys, is going to work wonders for you. It's going to work wonders for them. One thing I will say, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is not exact science. It's, if you have a general framework, 2 tasks a week, and follow the themes, people are going to be really in sync and, up to speed with your business. So ultimately you can get more freedom, income, and fulfillment. Again, I will say it doesn't have to be perfect. Just rough it and improve as you go. So it's kind of like, a golfer reviewing his swing over and over again, and to make sure that, how can we improve what we've just been through? It's kind of like an after action review. So guys, that's how you onboard VAs to go from novice to ninja in 8 weeks for more freedom, income, and fulfillment. What I would like to do now is just discuss a few action steps for you to take away. And earlier, do you remember I kind of mentioned the 8-week onboarding blueprint that we give to our clients so they can get kind of more fulfillment and business growth in their business, to get things off their plate quicker. So what I've done is I've arranged to make it available for you guys today, as I think it'll be really valuable for the next time you hire. So I think Michael include it on the show notes or underneath, but you can just go to systemscultureimpact.com/download. But again, it will be in the show notes as well, so you can just find it there. So basically, you'll be able to have access to that blueprint, and you'll be able to share it with your VA next time you hire to get them up to speed. So I think we've thrown in some SOPs in there as well. I think my team have chucked some of them in there as well. So that's available if you want it. That's the first action. The second action for you guys to get the most value from today is really to start, block a time to download, track, and rank your tasks. One thing, I'm just going to call this out. I speak to a lot of people that, want to just go and get all the information. And ultimately, the information is not what changes anything. The action is what it's all about. And, free information is great, but if you don't take any actions on it, then it's, there's been no value transfer. So what I really want to, instill on you is to, if you do anything, is just to take action, open up your calendar, block time to download, track, and rank your tasks, because that in itself will change your life. It really will. So you can start to get this stuff off of your plate. And then finally, the third thing is to record the videos. Guys, you're going to do this anyway. You're going to do the task anyway. So you might as well hit record, give them the context, and then show them how to do the task and never have to do it again. So guys, there's nothing more that I want for you guys to create a business with systems that kind of set you free, and create a company culture which really speaks from your heart, so that you can create the impact that you're put on this planet to create.
Aaron, thank you so much for the presentation. Fantastic stuff. And it's really lovely to have a very nicely put together, clean set of instructions and steps rather than me intervening all the time. So it's a bit different from what we usually do. I think that's going to be very, very valuable to our listeners, and especially to viewers. And if you are listening, I would urge you to get over to the show notes for this, and we'll put the link to the video there as well, because I think that's going to be very important for this particular episode as well. So that'll be at amazingfba.com/Aaron, AARON, and we'll put links to our previous interview with Aaron as well from August last year, I believe it was. So Aaron, thank you very much for that presentation. What we're going to do now is in our next episode, I'm going to reflect back some questions of the sorts of things that I think people might be asking themselves questions of in relation to your presentation. So we'll deal with that there. But first of all, thank you so much for a fantastic presentation.
You're so welcome. I thoroughly enjoyed it.